It's the Fort Hays State University Coaches Show on Eagle Community Television, brought to you by Eagle Communications.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of Taggart Talk. This is Gerard Welbrock, and we'll talk Fort Hays State basketball for the next 30 minutes or so as the Tigers open up MIAA play. Pretty good start for both the men and women. The Tiger men fall to number 6 Central Missouri, losing to the defending national champions, but bounce back, pick up a victory on Saturday over Missouri Western, and then Monday night, a convincing 94-50 victory over the Rangers of Northwestern Oklahoma State in a non-conference game. We'll talk a little bit later with head coach Mark Johnson about that. The Tiger women, they get a win over number 21 Central Missouri, the team that ended their season, I guess, not just last year, but each of the last 3 seasons in the conference tournament. So a little bit of revenge at home, and then a nice win over Missouri Western on Saturday. The ladies have now won 6 in a row and are 7-1 on the season. Both teams now off until Tuesday of next week, when the women take on Missouri Western, Kansas Wesleyan, and then the men will be in action against Bethany, and we'll preview all of that as we continue on Tiger Talk, and we'll be back right after this. Hi, I'm Gerard Welbrock, voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers, inviting you to join me for Tiger Talk. Airs Monday nights from 6 until 6:30 on Tiger Radio Mix 103, and then the video replay on Eagle Cable Channel 14 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We'll talk Fort Hays State football with head coach Chris Brown, preview the last game, and look ahead to the next week's action on Tiger Talk. Monday night, 6 till 6:30 on Tiger Radio Mix 103 and on Eagle Cable Channel 14. Welcome back into Tiger Talk. Gerard Welbrock and head coach of the Lady Tigers, Tony Hopsin. The program, of course, brought to you by Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill, 3203 Vine, where the fire's always burning. Check out the many new appetizers on the menu. Maybe you're up late studying for finals, late night out, pop on in for a late night snack at Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill, 3203 Vine, where the fire's always burning. And Coach, I guess can't ask for a much better start to conference play, knocking off the number 21 team in the country, Central Missouri, and then backing that up with a nice hard-fought win 2 days later against Missouri Western. A very good start to MIAA play.
Well, it like you said, it can't be much better for us, really. We have to protect our home court, and especially against the Eastern Division, which I don't feel is near as deep as what we're going to be playing later in the year. We were fortunate to have, I think, some of the top teams out of the East at home this year, where we were on the road last year against all of them. So, we played a couple of one-loss teams, 6-1 and 5-1, and so to get out of there with 2 victories within a 3-day period was good for our team.
And we talked about it last time, the Central Missouri game, obviously still in the memories of your team after losing, I guess not just last year, but really each of the last 3 seasons. They've ended your team's year in the conference tournament. They've been very emotional, very hard-fought, very well-played games, and it was much like that. It did not feel like a conference opener. It felt more like late January or February, very intense, highly competitive, and your team did just enough to pull it out in overtime.
Well, I think the reason that is that both teams understand the significance of that game later on in the season. We only play each other once, and when that happens, there's usually a little more emphasis and a little more intensity, and then we go back. We've played each other a lot in big games the last few years, and very competitive, and the kids get so they know each other, and we kind of know what each other does, and it's just a matter of which team can execute the best.
This one had a little bit of everything. Got to come from behind a little bit. I mean, it was pretty close throughout, though. No one got a real big lead. It was very physical, as is usually the case when you play them. And I felt as the game went along, your team kind of adjusted to that and certainly held their own in that regard.
Well, I think so. We have a fairly physical team. Our guards are physical. With some have size and some are just tough kids like Nikki and Beth. Carrie Ann's physical player. Kate's more physical than what people give her credit for, and Paige. So, and Ellie coming off the bench adds some of that for us too. So, rough games aren't going to affect us very much, I don't think. The big issue with that game was just the fact that they sat back in a zone defense for 45 minutes and not that we weren't totally unprepared for it, but I didn't anticipate a total game of it that way. I thought we would definitely see some, but I thought it would be more maybe a 50-50 split. So that really muddied up the game and slowed it down, which was what they were trying to get out of it.
And it felt like at times maybe trying to force the issue into Kate a little bit when they were packing it in. It seemed like as the game went along, that improved as well. And she was still able to get her numbers, but a lot of other people stepped up.
Well, she got her numbers, but a lot of it was from offensive rebounds or beating them up the floor. And she got very few baskets out of our half-court offense. So what it did was open up the outside for some of our shooters, and Nikki got in the lane later in the game, started penetrating and kicking for shots. So, you know, sometimes you don't discover stuff about your team until it's forced out of them, and that was the case there. It was either perform or get beat, and I think our kids did a good job of adjusting to their defense.
And then you had to come back just a couple of days later, and you always worry after an emotional, hard-fought game like that how you respond. It was the only game of the week for Missouri Western, and you have to be pretty happy. They came out and played very, very well.
Well, that always worries you when the team that you're playing on Saturday had a bye before, and you know, last year we faced that, but we were on the road, so you have kind of the double whammy. At least we were at home this time, and really Missouri Western's probably pure talent, as talented as anybody in the conference. I mean, they have 2 or 3 kids that are, I mean, during warm-up, we definitely lost warm-up. I mean, we might have got beat by 20 in warm-up because they're very good athletically and skills, and they can shoot it. And I thought our kids did really well with just playing as a team and defending them and helping. You know, one-on-one, we wouldn't have had a chance.
Well, the Tigers get the victory to start conference play at 2-0. A little break for finals week. They're not in action again until next Tuesday when Kansas Wesleyan comes to town. We'll take a break and talk about that and take a little bit of a sneak preview of what's up ahead for the Lady Tigers. You're tuned into Taggart Talk, and we're back with more with head coach Tony Hopsin right after the break. Welcome back to the program. Gerard Welbrock, head coach Tony Hopsin. Lady Tigers do play before Tuesday. They are in action on Sunday, Missouri Valley College, and then the Kansas Wesleyan game. Tiger Talk presented by Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill, 3203 Vine, where the fire's always burning. Check with them about catering. If you have your upcoming Christmas party at work, Whiskey Creek might be the answer for the food items with their catering service. Before we talk about Missouri Valley, and then you have the game coming up on Tuesday, obviously, with Kansas Wesleyan. Finals week, very important stretch, obviously, to take care of business in the classroom. But I would also think an important stretch for your team on the floor. This is really the first extended practice session you've had since before the season started, because it's pretty much been go 2-3 times a week since the season began.
Well, it has, either with travel or playing, you know, a couple home games right back to back. So we haven't had a lot of time to change anything. And, you know, yesterday we had a little practice where we got after a little bit. And there's 4 or 5 kids down at the end of our bench that haven't been getting in the tight games, haven't been getting to play a lot, and you know, their conditioning is rough. So, you know, they need to. It'll be good for them this week, and to get that going again, and to get back in the mix. So it gives us a chance to do some things. I'm thinking right now just. We might trash our zone offense and just put in a couple new things, or at least add some things to it, because the word's out now, you know, that, hey, they slowed them down with the zone defense. And I've always thought that if a team isn't used to playing zone defense and they just change for one game or something, I think that the advantage is to us. If we can make them change what they naturally do, they're not going to do it as well. So. We even had Missouri Western they tried zone and it was effective for a few minutes because I didn't have Chelsea in the game, and when we put her back in the game, she hit a couple of threes, and that was the end of it. But I think we're going to see a little bit more of that, so we have to concentrate on adding that. And we'll take a couple days off this week, and we have a lot of serious students on our team, and finals are definitely important to them. We've got kids that are applying to, med schools and PT schools and all these schools, and they need these grades. So it's an important stretch. It also gives us a time to kind of take a deep breath and just rekindle a little energy for the stretch run here before Christmas. And those are all important games. So, yeah, it's always nice to have a little time after you had a great week.
Yeah.
If we would have lost both of those games or something, then it's not good. But we can get out and watch a few high school games this week. I can watch my son play a couple times. Just we can do a little bit of everything, and at the same time work on a few things we need to do as a team.
Kate Lehman named Conference Player of the Week, second time this year, 10th time in her career that's been sent her way, and yet she may not have been your best player this week, and that's kind of a neat thing when she gets an honor, but you had a lot of other people who could have been considered for that award. That's pretty neat.
Well, it is, and that's why we had success with both games. It's pretty hard to beat when you're averaging 21 and 12 and 6 blocks. I mean, that's the thing is that we take her for granted.
Yeah.
We expect that. You mean she was Player of the Week? Well, all she did was have 20 and 12 and 8 blocks one game and 3 the other. I mean, that's what's so good about that. Next year we're going to understand how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
But to be, I think they've only had Player of the Week 3 times, and she's already had it twice, and 10 times in her career with a whole season basically to go is remarkable, and just shows how consistent she really is. There's probably been 3 or 4 other times where I really think she should have been, but they have, they're getting Kate Lehman fatigue, and they see the same name up there all the time, and they're naturally, if it's close, they're going to go the other way a lot of times. So she's continuing her steady play, and we need that out of her. But you're exactly right. I mean, we got very good play from Chelsea Mason. We got good play from Beth. Beth had a great game on Saturday, and it isn't like she had a bad one on Thursday. Nikki's playing well. Carrie Ann and Paige give us different things. They're not stat stuffers, and they aren't going to score a lot, but they're vitally important to our team, and so it just goes right down the line. I mean, Jill Faxon's a steady player, and when you get all those things going, and Kate doesn't care really about anything other than winning the game. If she needs to do what she's doing, that's fine, and she'll do that, but she's perfectly content. She loves to make that back cut pass to the 4-man dive into the basket. That's her favorite thing to do, and she probably tries to throw it too much instead of scoring herself.
Well, she's had a great week, certainly, and congratulations to her. And we'll get a chance to watch them all play again Sunday, 2 o'clock with Missouri Valley, and then the following Tuesday with Kansas Wesleyan. Coach, we appreciate the time as always, and we will see you at the Coliseum Sunday afternoon.
Okay, thanks, Gerard.
That's Coach Tony Hopsin. Lady Tigers, winners of 6 straight, off to a 7-1 start, and again play 2 o'clock on Sunday. We will take a break. We'll shift gears, talk some men's basketball as head coach Mark Johnson joins us right after this on Tiger Talk. Welcome back to Tiger Talk. Gerard Welbrock joined now by head coach Mark Johnson. The program again brought to you by the fine folks at Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill. And pick any 2 choices for lunch, $7.99 and $8.99. Many items, many options to choose from at Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill, where the fire's always burning. Tigers 1-1 in conference play, but they've won 2 in a row after a victory over Northwestern Oklahoma State Monday night. And let's go back, I guess, to the weekend. Kind of a tough start, obviously a challenging start. The defending conference and national champion Central Missouri Mules, and they were impressive. And you were right there with about 3.5 minutes to go, but obviously that final 3.5 didn't go the way you wanted and came up on a short end.
Yeah, I mean, we played well offensively, I thought, through most of the night to give ourselves an opportunity. And then, I think it was tied, like you said, with 3:48 to go or something, and just couldn't get those critical stops you need to be successful. They look like the team that has been in these wars before and played in the most important game, a year ago, and just, really did what they needed to do down the stretch of the game to win. But, disappointing in the fact that I thought we played good enough on one end of the floor to possibly win the game, and just couldn't get it quite done on the defensive end.
And I think that looks like is the challenge with this team, is bringing that defense along and getting it good enough to where you have a chance against those good teams. They seem to be showing signs of it, but still kind of a work in progress in that regard.
Yeah, I think so. We're not just physically out there. We have to be pretty locked in and pretty determined. We just don't, we're not overly tall in the backcourt. We're not overly quick in certain positions. So, we have to make sure we're, doing everything correctly against really good teams for us to stop them. Sometimes when you're really a big team or you're an athletic team, you can you make it hard on the other team to score just by being out there. And for us, we don't have those capabilities, so we got to work as a unit and be five guys out there trying to find a way to get stops. And we've done it at times. Newman, we did a good job, I thought, against Northwest Oklahoma for the majority of the game we have. But also when you're not playing quite the talent, it makes your defense look better. So I think Central Missouri deserves some credit. But I feel like offensively we've come along these last 3 games.
And you look at that Mules team, they've got a very good point guard, Rakeem Dickerson, pretty impressive, and then Dylan Deck inside. That's a pretty good 1-2 combination. Hughes has improved. They've got the components that really puts pressure on a defense.
I think they're a better offensive team than they were a year ago when they won the national championship. And they just, they might have years before where they maybe looked better. But as far as they got, like I said, a great point guard, quick. You can't keep them in front of you. TJ White, and now they have 2 great drivers. They have 2 great post players, and then everyone else is great shooters and ball movers. And that's pretty much the recipe for success for offense. So I think they have all the keys, and really a little bit like us, if they would buy into the defensive end and really get committed to defense, they're going to be hard for anybody to beat them.
And then you had to come back with Missouri Western, and you hate to put a label on a game this early in the year, but the fact it was at home, you're coming off a loss to Central, almost a must-win, really, if you want any chance to be in the conference race, and thought your team really responded with a very hard-fought win against a much-improved Griffin team.
Yeah, no, we had to win that game. Last year, I think we started off 0-3, but 2 of those 3 were on the road. You can come back from road losses. It's home games. Especially early in the season, that when you lose, those are hard to come back from and gain ground. So we needed to win that game. I thought our guys did, again, a great job, because Missouri Western, it may not seem like a big deal, but they didn't have to play that Thursday. We're coming off kind of a heartbreak. Laid it on the line against the defending national champs. It came up just short, so we really could have maybe been feeling sorry for ourselves and things like that, and we didn't. I thought we came out and really played well offensively. I think Jake and Dom right now have really the last few games played great. Almost, Dom 19 and 13 against Northwest Oklahoma. I think he had big numbers against Missouri Western. Jake Stoppel might have played his best game of his career. I think he had 18 and 11. And then I think Craig, he had 23 points against Western. But you look at our last 2 games, he's really starting to make those other guys better, getting a lot of assists and giving those other guys good shots.
Yeah, and Dom Samich really fought foul trouble early. He's been able to play more minutes because he hasn't been in foul trouble, and you can really see the dividends on the floor.
He's a tough matchup. He can post up guys in the paint, and then what he's really good at is being able to drive around them. You get out there and pressure him at the foul line, top of the key. He's a pretty smooth guy of getting around. So, he can it's hard to take him away. You can throw him in the post. If they start trying to double team him and do things like that, he can get outside, and it's a little bit harder to double team a guy coming from 15 to 20 feet. So he's a difficult matchup for the other teams. We just, again, he needs to stay out of foul trouble and things like that.
Well, the Tigers get the split to open conference play, and as Coach mentioned, had the Rangers of Northwestern Oklahoma State in town on Monday night. We'll talk a little bit about that and look ahead to this week of 4-day state basketball. The program brought to you by Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill at 3203 Vine in Hayes, where the fire's always burning. We'll take our final break, be back with our final segment right after this. Welcome back to Taggart Talk. Gerard Walbrock, head coach Mark Johnson. It's our final segment this evening as Fort Hays State gets ready to, resume finals week this week. They don't play again until Tuesday when Bethany comes to town for the final non-conference game. You did get a break from the MIAA play. An interesting matchup with Northwestern Oklahoma. First day of finals week, coming off a couple of tough conference games. You never quite know. I guess what helped is they were in the same boat, 2 conference games on Thursday and Saturday, and maybe that showed in the first 10 or 15 minutes. You really dominated the game early, and that was really kind of the difference.
Yeah, I mean, we talked going into the game that both teams are in the the same situation. We have it easier because we're not having to get in a bus and drive, and probably the team that was going to be successful is who was it most important to start off. And I think our guys showed it was it was pretty important to us, and we really jumped on. Thought we played some really good defense. I thought guys got to the positions we needed to. They were supposed to be at, which we're really working on. And offensively, like I said, we've really played well the last few games, 2 or 3 games. We were 11 of 17 from 3 for the night. Like I said, we get some inside presence with Dom and Jake, and then Craig setting the tables for our perimeter guys, and then I think Royce was 5 for 5 from 3, and all that. So I thought everybody played well offensively, and we're starting to. Early in the year, I felt like that first weekend, everybody was trying to do too much. Everybody was trying to make the great play. And we're kind of settling in and figuring out our roles, and we're getting better and better on that end of the floor.
Which I guess is coming at a good time. You get a little bit of a break this week, and then you have one more conference game. But you're gonna need all of that as you get in the grind after the first of the year when you get into that 2 games a week in conference play.
Yeah, I think the thing we have is we have some depth. We have a lot of guys that can, whether it be Royce, James, and Achoki, all 3 of those guys can shoot the basketball. All 3 of those guys are capable of scoring. So you feel like each night, or at least you're hoping one of those guys will be effective, and that's why I think we can have a good offensive team just by throwing numbers at people. And I think having some time off here, we can add some more things that we want to add. Sometimes, like I said, with our early conference season, you have to scramble in so many non-conference games that once you have a month of practice trying to figure out what team you need to be, and then you just play games, and you don't have enough time to make some adjustments and tweak some things you would like to do to your team to help them be, play to our strengths a little better. I think now is the time here, the next week and a half before Christmas, because once Christmas, we're back from Christmas, it's games. So I think these next 2 weeks, we can really do some things to add some things to help ourselves.
I was kind of going to ask you about that. How do you handle it? You got finals week this week, and obviously a lot of importance there, but also some extended time to practice now without games, which hasn't happened since the early season.
Yeah, like I said, we need to make a few adjustments. You can work in the preseason and think you have an idea of how you need to play and what you need to be doing, but you really don't know till you start playing games. It usually takes 5 to 6 games, I feel like, before you really know what your strengths are and what whether it be offense or defense, what you need to be doing. And then you get into games and it's just hard. You can't make changes in one day or 2 days. Here we have basically 5-6 days of practice that we can really make some changes that can really make us better.
All right, well, it should be interesting to watch. We'll obviously talk to you again next week before the Bethany game and take a little bit of a preview look at them and also Northwest Missouri State. Coach, as always, we appreciate the time. Have a good week of practice.
All right, thank you.
That's head coach Mark Johnson. Again, the Tiger men in action next Tuesday. Bethany College in town. Second end of a men's and women's doubleheader. The women take on Kansas Wesleyan. And don't forget the Lady Tigers Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock with Missouri Valley College. Coverage begins at 1:40 with the Auto World pregame on Tiger Radio Mix 103. That's going to wrap up the program. Brought to you once again by the Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, the Taco Shop, G&L Tire and Automotive, Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, Adams, Brown, Barron and Ball, Couture for Men and Women, James Motor Company, BTI, and of course Whiskey Creek Wood Fire Grill at 3203 Vine in Hayes, where the fire's always burning. For coaches Tony Hopsin and Mark Johnson, this is Gerard Welbrock. Good night, everyone.
It's the Fort Hays State University Coaches Show on Eagle Community Television, brought to you by Eagle Communications.